This is Plant-Based Briefing, The Truth Behind the Numbers, Part 1 by Sailesh Rao at climatehealers.org. I'm Marian Erickson. This is the Plant-Based Podcast where I curate and narrate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And this article is longer than that, so it's a two-parter. I'm reading Part 1 today and then tune back in tomorrow for the second half. There are so many reasons to live a vegan lifestyle. The animals, of course, human health, and the environment are the three big ones, but there are many others. And today's article focuses on the environment, specifically how much of climate change is caused by animal agriculture. There are many different numbers being thrown around, from 14% to over 100%. So this article, it's a two-parter, but it gets into what's behind all the different numbers. It's a little technical, but the gist of it, even if you're not technical, is really interesting. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. The Truth Behind the Numbers, Part 1 by Sailesh Rao at climatehealers.org. The article starts with a quote, "You can't manage right what you don't measure right." Peter Drucker. Is it 14%, 18%, 24%, 34%, 51%, 53%, 66%, 87%, or 118%? There are a whole lot of percentage figures associated with the climate impact of animal agriculture. In this article, we will examine why there are such wide discrepancies and where the truth actually lies. At Climate Healers, we've been saying 87% and now 118%, while most others seem to be stuck on 14% at the other end. So what is the truth behind these numbers? Two questions. The two main questions around which scientists have been compiling animal agriculture's climate impact estimates are, A, how much of the annual climate impact is caused by animal agriculture, and B, how much of the cumulative climate impact is caused by animal agriculture. While question A is concerned with the rate of change in warming, question B is concerned with the totality of warming since the pre-industrial era. The emissions components. In the UN IPCC's guidelines for emissions reporting, unchanged since 1996, only 3 emissions components are included. All 3 of them are greenhouse gases responsible for heating effects: carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Since 1996, 7 other emissions components have been identified, but not yet included in the IPCC's reporting guidelines for policymakers. 3 of them are also greenhouse gases responsible for heating effects: halocarbons, non-methane volatile organic compounds plus carbon monoxide, and black carbon. 4 more emissions components are aerosols causing cooling effects in the atmosphere: sulfur dioxide, ammonia, nitrogen oxides, and organic carbon. And albedo is a measure of how much sunlight or solar radiation a surface reflects without absorbing it. It is the 11th component that we need to consider, as albedo changes typically lead to more land surface reflectivity, thereby cooling the Earth. A final component that needs consideration is the carbon opportunity cost, or COC, of the land used for animal agriculture. COC is an estimate of how much additional CO2 can be sequestered on the land used for animal agriculture with reasonable effort on our part. COC is not a direct emission and therefore is not included in totals, but it is included in the animal agriculture sector component. With COC, the emissions estimate for the animal agriculture sector can even exceed 100%. Yes, that's right, meaning that when we choose to end animal agriculture, there is more sequestration than emissions, and therefore global warming will actually decrease over time. The metric used for emissions impact: GWP 100, GWP 20, or ERF. A final source of the discrepancy between the various estimates is the metric used for comparing the impact of various emissions components. GWP 100, the global warming potential over a 100-year period, is the metric used in the UN IPCC's 1996 guidelines. In this metric, the total heating or cooling caused by 1 ton of the emitted component over a 100-year period is compared with the heating caused by 1 ton of CO2 over the same 100-year period in order to relate all emission species to a CO2 equivalent. GWP 20 is another time-dependent metric where the window of consideration is narrowed to 20 years from 100 years in order to convert all emissions components to a CO2 equivalent. And ERF is the effective radiative forcing metric, which directly uses the warming or cooling impact of the increase in the concentration of the emissions component from 1750 to present. You just listened to The Truth Behind the Numbers, Part 1 by Sailesh Rao at climatehealers.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, your host. Tune in tomorrow for the second half of this article, where Dr. Rao explains where the different numbers come from and what some of the errors are in the various estimates. So please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.